Okay, I'm already in the middle of praising these systematic review about residential greenness and its association with birth outcomes. I've already looked at several systematic reviews and published what I've written so far on gel. You can find the link in the description. So where are we? I'm currently looking at a similar systematic review that was referenced by the original reviewers, and I'm trying to understand whether or not the original systematic review that I'm appraising, whether or not it is a duplicate. It doesn't look like that, but I have to look at previous studies, and I did have a look on Google and in some other places, and I did find some similar reviews, and all important reviews except for the most recent one, that is by Lee and others, that was published in August 2020 and was not pre-registered. So it was not referenced by the original reviewers. Hugh or who? I'm sorry, I'm not sure how this is read correctly. How this surname is read correctly, but this is a team of Chinese authors, and they do reference all the reviews, even those that were published in April-May 2020. That's very good. That's very good. Now this is Jan 2020, and they did assess various variables, various measures of adverse pregnancy outcomes, and this is the second study that I'm looking at. Currently, I've already looked at the Gimbel of 2014. There, they looked at the birth weight, and they found that there was a small correlation between the amount of greenness within 100 or 250 meters around the home of the mother, and but between that amount of greenness and the birth weight. But it was a significant, true association, but it was quite a small association. Here they did some subgroup analysis, which means the authors did some more statistical corrections for confounding variables, which are always important to consider in any risk association study. I actually don't like these studies very much, because in any association study when this is an observational study, not an experimental study, so you just observe one variable and the other variable, and you see and try to see whether or not there are any associations. You can never say that there were no additional confounders, no additional variables that could have influenced both the measured variable and the independent variable. So it is always possible that, for example, even if we do find that greenness is associated with more greenness is associated with greater birth weight, there is always a possibility that some other variable influence both of these variables, and hence the outcome. So, anyway, the correlation that was found was very small, almost insignificant. And it is interesting that in this new review by Jen and others, they also measured the rate of low birth weight, which is somewhat different measure than the weight itself. So it is more important to show that the intervention or the exposure here, the amount of greenness reduces or is associated with reduced. It does not reduce, actually. There is no proof that this association is actually driven by the greenness. It is just an association. This is not a cause and effect relationship. Okay, so if we find that there is a correlation between the rate of low birth weight pregnancies, that's a more tough outcome than just the birth weight. So there was no evidence of publication bias, and well, okay. Now what I'm trying to understand now is duplication. I'm assessing duplication only at this step. Okay, now I do understand what Jan and others did. Now I want to look at, there are two more studies that looked at this one and that one. Two more studies that looked at these things too. We have to look at these before we come back to the original study by Hu and others. Okay, and now we want to understand what's up with these studies. What did they actually assess? So let's look at this one. Let's look at that one. That was also referenced by the original study. Green-blue spaces may promote several outcomes. Okay. Small for gestational age, increase in. Okay. The study carried by Jim Bellow and others that reference this study. There is one more study by Benet and others, but I looked at it too, but it was not a systematic review, so I didn't even mention it here. The most recent review, this is probably the review by Jan. Nope, that's a different review. I never heard of it. It is important to consider what the authors had in mind when they did their study. Were they aware of other studies that you are looking at? If they were aware, then what are their thoughts about it? Concentrations of air pollution. No, this is not a systematic review, so we're not even considering it. The most recent meta-analysis. Well, I'm sorry, I took the wrong reference. Jen, yeah. This is exactly the review that we just looked at. So, and importantly, I'm not assessing quality of these additional studies that I'm looking at. I'm currently assessing the original review by Hu and others, and I'm just using these to get insight about different about various aspects of this review. so I'm not delving deep into it. The most recent meta-analysis issue review. So why did you do this review? None of these reviews examine the studies of blue space and birth outcomes. Yeah, so they're looking at aquatic environments. So they're probably not giving us any new information about green space. Okay. Okay. This is probably not very relevant. What are they saying about green space? Let's look at their methods very briefly. Wow, it's this is another reason why I don't like these studies. They're always complex. Statistics are always complex, and they're really hard to actually appraise. And you have to consider many different options, many different aspects of the study. So randomized controlled trials are really easier to design initially, and they're easier to appraise, to critically assess, to do the statistics and so on. And non-randomized studies, association studies, are really hard to work with. It is always pain in the ass. Let us just be straight about it. Pain in the head. Similarly for Jimbel. So, okay, they're probably not giving us any new information. If they're saying themselves that the only difference is between their study and the previous reviews was just that the previous ones did not assess blue spaces, aquatic environments. So, probably look at it. And let's have this one. So, this is the most recent review. This is the second most recent review on this topic that was published in August 2020, and it is very recent, so it was not referenced by our original authors. And the thing is that it was not pre-registered in the Prospero register, and it is good practice to register your systematic review, to always register it with Prospero, exactly for the purpose of so that other authors or reviewers, appraisers like ourselves could just conduct a search in Prospero and look at the original registration record, and so they were aware of this study being conducted. They didn't do that. That's not great. Let's have a look at what they did. Factor is believed to primarily strengthen mental Barker hypothesis, preterm birth. The Barker hypothesis proposed in 1990 states that early intervention during pregnancy improves the health of newborns. Okay, exposure to ambient. Yeah, there is another layer of studies, another layer of systematic reviews that are associated with pregnancy outcomes, and we have one such study on gel. This is a study by Beckar and others. There is also a link to this study. I will put it in the description box. I didn't do that, but I will. This is I didn't do this appraisal yet. I just started it, and I'm just going to do that sometime later. And so this is about a subtly different aspect of this problem, not about greenery or aquatic environments, but about the pollutions themselves. So this is slightly different, and it needs a different take on that. So we'll look at it separately. Okay, and preterm birth exposure, pregnancy health associated with increased birth weight and decreased preeclampsia. Let's have a look at this. 16 to leisure time. a review. That's one new study that I never saw before. Let's have a look at it. This is probably not a systematic review, just a review. Yeah, it's not a systematic review, so we're not gonna look at it further. View physical activity patterns. Yeah, that's one. Again, another different problem: physical activity and birth outcomes. Huang, antidepressant use and preterm birth. Here, one more study, probably not a systematic review again. So there are quite a lot of studies. Yeah, that's a primary study. Actually, they kind of put it all in one box here, and they reference it as one. I have a feeling that this study is actually not very good. This review by Lee and others will not actually be very good. Because that's not good practice to just put different references in one box and reference it as a set that is actually very heterogeneous, and you can't actually get the point. We aim to investigate the associations between outcomes, greenness, air quality, and civilization. Research: what is the effect of greenness on maternal neonatal health in the context of air pollution and related civilization? So that's one another different take on things. They're kind of combining green spaces. You kind of combining green spaces and air pollution. Let's have a look at the methods. Greenness is environmental characteristic. Normalized difference between that's not I see landscape exclusion criteria on the data extraction, buffer sizes, outcomes assessed, the term low birth weight, preterm birth. Actually, the previous authors, Jen and others, investigated whether more greenery is associated with lower rates of preterm birth and did not find any significant association altogether. The covariates were categorized. So they probably using some kind of a complex statistical model here, and they're not just estimating the association parameters, but they are also using covariates, so they're taking into account air pollution. So this is going to be really a complex multivariable linear regression. Yeah, well, multivariate analysis. So I can see why they did that. How many studies did they find? 10 articles only. That's a lot fewer than the study by Jen and others. This is probably because of their restrictions related to the method of measurement of greenness and to the outcomes they chose. I'll include studies and sample sizes. It's important to notice that Jen and others, the previous study, it mentioned the overall population size of 11 million participants. So now, why is it so important? That it is important because if we can say that a sample size is actually big, very big, and if the association is so small, even given this big sample size, this is probably a good indicator that the association is really that small that it's not gonna be greater if we took say more participants into the study. Greenness and as follows. Heterogeneity. Heterogeneity was considerable. Yeah, it is also worth mentioning that this study is probably using the random effects model of meta-analysis. Yeah, and the study by Jen and others also used the random effects model of meta-analysis. But the original study by let me see, by Jambov and others, they did actually their review. It looked like a very thorough study, and they did a lot of elaboration in their method sections, and they discussed why they made these choices or other choices in terms of study design. And importantly, they use a quality effects model of meta-analysis. That's an unusual thing to do. This is a model where the studies are the impact that a study gives to the overall estimate is as big as its quality coefficient, and they use some quality. I didn't get deep into it, but they did some quality assessment, and so they did take into account that there could be systematic differences between the studies, and did not use the random effect model. That was an interesting there's a notion from their part. Risk of bias summary. So most studies were at low risk of bias. Okay. Meta-analysis greenness on term birth weights. So again, they found a small but significant relationship with very great heterogeneity. I probably missed something, but it is interesting why other authors, and well, actually all the authors that I already looked at, no one has ever assessed the possible reasons for heterogeneity, because heterogeneity is actually the factor that limits our capacity, our ability to do the meta-analysis. So it's really worth investigating. Okay, but what was the effect size? Let me see. They are just showing us these, but what about standardized effect sizes? Heterogeneity and DVI was significantly positively, except for a very study reporting a high association. The overall effect of greenness remains significant. By adjusting for others, quality. After adjusting, well, that's it. After adjusting for civilization factors, regardless of air quality, high birth weight gains with a 10 premium buffer distance. That's 0.026 grams per one, probably per one 1/100th of an NDVI point. NDVI is a measure of greenness. It is measured using geolocation software, satellite imagery, and it can be it's defined on the interval from -1 to 1, where 1 is maximum greenness, 0 is zero greenness, and -1 is maximum water content. I'm not going to go into details about physical background, but I'll probably say a couple words afterwards. Now I'm just recording the stream, and after I've finished praising this study, this systematic review, I'm going to record a different short, probably 1 to 2 minutes video where I'm going to say important points about it and probably go a little into the physical background of this measure. But anyway, however, the overall NDVI effects of greenness on birth weights, standardized regression coefficients, regardless of the overall NDVI of producing poor pregnancy outcomes should be interpreted with caution, as the group results did not reach statistical significance. Low occurrences of low birth weight, very low birth weight, and small gestation age were shown at all NDVI distances. No publication biases were observed. It is also worth noting that infant mortality was not assessed here. And actually, the parameter that I'm most interested in, and that's probably the most interesting to us, is the preterm birth weight, preterm birth rates, and the infant mortality. Probably the most robust and the most practice important outcomes. Because low birth weight is, low birth weight is a little less practice important, I suppose, than these two. Preterm birth. Okay, let's just go on. Random effects, meta regression, forest plot, noise walkability, log odds ratio, funnel plot. Funnel plot is great. Never mind. What are they saying in the discussion? It's interesting to see their position with regard to the outcomes, to their results. For perform analysis, best of knowledge. This is the first study to extend the effect of in the context, certification of greenness and adjusted air quality for weak positive effect and significant association based on the full standardized regression coefficient. It's interesting. They did show some effect for small gestational age and preterm birth. Numerous reports on greenness have reported post-maternal infant health outcomes. Cautiously interpreted their analysis of the restriction of the greenness effects, such as the DVI, Gilman. This meta-analysis investigation of the association might assume that exposure to greenness would result in reduced stress and related distress. Increased physical and enhanced social participation, while weight gain during pregnancy is normal weight in a process and rule. The few studies have benefits of exercise. pooled. Comparisons of the birthright results revealed a polled. This value did not differ in the former civilization. So as far as I understand, their statistical corrections using covariates, their adjusted estimates were not actually different much from the uncorrected measurements, estimates, calculations, although there were significant physical. In Korea. So actually, given these results, it's really hard to understand why did these authors do this study. Probably they just did it because they did it, and so now we're looking at the original study, and they had it pre-registered with Prospero. So probably just before publishing the study, they looked on the internet. They looked here and there, and they identified more studies investigating the same topic, and so they just found something to say about it, so that nobody would actually